We're a family.
Drums at all, or anything up here.
Do we need to finish this?
I don't need to do any of this. If it's going to save $250,000, no, we don't have to do it.
No, it's just wasting money for the charity.
Sorry?
Yeah. I'm glad we're doing it, but, you know, I wish we didn't have to do it. I wish it hadn't been a hurricane.
Dark stage! Thank you very
We've got to be there for them.
Everyone to please exit the stage.
All right.
Crews requested to exit the arena. Thank you.
It's now my great pleasure to welcome the cast of the film Looper,
Argo, Spring Breakers,
Cloud Atlas,
Hotel Transylvania.
Silver Linings Playbook.
It just feels like a real film festival for the community.
It's very exciting for me to be here to support a film.
I wanted to show Toronto the way I experience it.
We want people to like our movies and understand them.
What makes it really special for me is the fact that the audiences have responded the way they have.
If I got lucky in the first two, this was the lottery.
I feel like I hit the jackpot. I mean, I can't believe that I'm sitting at a table, you know, flanked by these people.
Every producer I've ever worked with is in that character. And a couple I invented.
You have to be faithful to what they really were.
But I certainly wouldn't, you know, deign to think that we are godfathering anything. I do. And that's why he's got the beard.
First nice thing the press have ever done.
I was really happy to find out this is where we were coming.
I said, I'm in.
The festival of the people who live here.
That was amazing.
Our moderator for today is Henri Behar, and it is now my pleasure to welcome the producers from the film 12-12-12. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome to the press conference for 12-12-12. We tried to start it at 12 past 12. It didn't happen, but the intention was there. All the people who are here with us today are credited as producers. Some have perhaps a more direct experience in film directing, starting with Megan O'Hara. She produced all of Michael Moore's films, Sicko, Fahrenheit 9/11, and Bowling for Columbine. She is also about to make her directorial debut, I'm told. Sitting next to her, a man who has already directed films. Fighter was one. I think you directed the Patrick Tillman.
Thank you, yeah.
Also for television. He also has, perhaps more than everybody here, a direct experience of natural catastrophes, as I think he went to New Orleans immediately after Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, that's right.
One entity is sort of missing here, and it's the Robin Hood organization, which has been providing funds for and building schools and more for the poor in the, I think it's New York, or is it all of America?
New York. It's
New York. And when Hurricane Sandy hit the East Coast, they sprung into action, set up a fund, the Robin Hood Hurricane Sandy Fund, and then the other three came into action. What they have in common, certainly, is power. They also have the acumen, the energy to spring into action
Good looks.
at the speed of lightning. They are, in the various capacities, involved in the arts, in culture, and in entertainment. I never thought I'd put those three words together in the same sentence. They are, starting from my far left, Mr. John Sykes, who is president of Clear Channel Entertainment Enterprises. Have I got it right? sitting
And
next
Harvey's
to him,
driver.
Sitting next to him is the James Dolan, the executive chairman of the Madison Square Group, among other things. He's also involved, definitely. He's the chief executive of Cablevision. Sitting next to him, co-founder of Miramax, co-founder of the Weinstein Company. Madonna calls him the Punisher. Meryl Streep calls him God. He's all of the above. Harvey is Harvey, Mr. Harvey Fierstein. So,
Harvey Weinstein.
Weinstein. I know, I knew I was going to make it.
I love your work.
I've been called worse and better.
That's true. Who came into play first? Who reacted immediately after Sandy hit?
I was in Los Angeles. I had been there for the first day of the storm, and I saw Rockaway, which is where I used to go with my grandmother on summer vacations. And she had a little cottage there. We lived in sort of public housing when we grew up, and that was the big place to go to Rockaway Beach, see the boardwalk. And I called Jim and I said we should do this again, because the three of us had teamed up for Concert for New York, which raised $65 million and still raises money for the 9/11 families. And we called John and Sykes, and within an hour we were at work, and 3 weeks later we put on a show that more people than any concert in the history of anything saw. Between the web, television, China had 300 million. 3 weeks. So it really is quite an undertaking.
We don't even have to. We've worked together so long now. It's like we almost don't even have to speak. We have the meeting, and we just branch out. Jim takes the most famous arena in the world, Madison Square Garden, donates it. The staff, the power that it has. Harvey goes after virtually every celebrity in the world. I jump in the music tank and see what we can come up with. And Harvey, of course, has a lot of experience too from his days as a promoter, which no one knows. And we just report back quickly, and it happens rapid fire, and it just kind of comes together, and it's a very chaotic experience. But we know by the time those artists get up on the stage, they'll take control and they'll do just fine.
Jim also sits with about 70 people, with John and I to his left and right, with coordinating what will then be the work of 500 people and subsequently thousands of people. So he runs the meetings, and from cable to internet to sponsorship, to every particular aspect to put on a production that's raised $50 million so far, and counting.
I also do Harvey's makeup.
Is that good?
Now, this is not the first time that you function as a team, the three of you, is it? No.
No, we did the 9/11 concert, and we all worked together in various capacities, mostly for charity.
So, how did the who does what come into place immediately? I gave to Madison Square Garden. I bring this,
we do
everything.
That. Jim runs the meetings. Jim's organizes the entire thing. John, and I both contribute, but he sort of runs it. We left and right. We get acts, we get talent. He gets talent. We get acts. We organize. We all bring expertise in every area that we have to play.
What we try to do is we try to create the best possible platform for these artists to go out and entertain and get people to give money to Robin Hood so we can help the victims. So what we do is we deal with, we're almost like traffic cops. When the artists come back, I need this, I got this, or whatever. And what we try to do is create a balanced show that respects the artist, but also delivers something these consumers are going to watch on TV, listen on the radio, watch in the venue. And it's almost like a musical Rubik's Cube on steroids. to get it all lined up. But when it happens and you sit back, like we watched the show last night, we said, "Wow, is that beautiful?"
The movie these guys made
At which
is
point
great.
did you two come in? And in which order, if I may ask?
I think the idea for this, if I'm not mistaken, was yours, right, Megan? To document it.
I read about what they were doing and just immediately said to Harvey, you have an amazing documentary here. And he wrote back within, I think, 30 seconds, Harvey, which is pretty rare. Sounds good, who's going to direct? I mean, it was not even a thought process. And so then Amir and I paired up together, and it was, like they said, really rapid fire. I mean, we had days before the concert to pull everything together, and we were just, shooting continually the whole time, shooting all the planning meetings, the rehearsals, the setup of the stadium, and then on the day of the show, shooting for, I don't even know how many hours, 10 in the morning until 2 in the morning. So with
I think
many crews.
If you count the 15 cameras that were on the stage, then we had like 12 cameras, so there were quite a few angles. And then I'll say, so 3 days before the concert, we started filming these production meetings that these guys are talking about, and it was quite interesting, but I kept getting kind of stink eye from this one person who kind of looked like somebody who walked out of a Guy Ritchie film. I come to realize he's Paul McCartney's manager, and he had the same idea to document this, and he was sort of like, what the heck is this kid doing filming? So and this tension kind of percolated until 11 a.m. the day of the concert. I get a call from one of my field producers. Adam Sandler just got stolen by the Paul McCartney guys. We're in crisis. So I ran up and we got in a big fight, which ended with us hugging and deciding to make one film. So it was really like in the middle of this giant argument, we said, this is for charity. This is crazy. Why are we making 2 films, and why are we fighting about Adam Sandler or whatever? Let's just join forces. So literally, really in the spirit of the event that these guys and Victoria Parker put together, and sort of in the same spirit of collaboration, we just said, hey, let's put our egos at the door, and we had a big production meeting with a bunch of people we'd never met, and we all split up the work. We gave them certain jobs, and we took different jobs, and then we put all the footage together at the end and made this film.
And the reason why you should see this film is because what they did, and they're underplaying what they did, was they captured everything that you'll never see if you go to see a concert. I mean, we've all seen beautiful concert shots. We've seen those big performances that just show the outside. But they literally got into the creases. They really got into the corners. They got into the drama, the nerves, everything that went into putting this on. When you saw artists say and do things you'd never see before, and that's the beauty of what they captured.
But from a strictly directorial point of view, then the question to you, sir. Every band coming in, every singing artist coming in has his light chart, his camera placement, his special effects, and you have to change at the speed of lightning. And there's no way you can film this singer or that singer from that angle or that angle, please.
We weren't going for polish. I think what John says is exactly right. The ad hoc nature of this concert, we wanted the film to reflect that. So you see people scrambling, get the lights on Billy Crystal, he's in the darkness, whatever. All that stuff we put in there because it really was, this was New York coming to its own aid, without authority and, top-down management. It was really just a real esprit de corps moment, and we wanted that to be reflected in the film.
The artists didn't, they didn't insist on, their individual lighting, etc. Maybe that was one of the beauties of the show. We only had 4 weeks to do it, so there was one lighting grid, right? There was one sound system. We had little things here, here and there, but basically it was one stage. And everybody was extremely cooperative. And this film, it even took me by surprise, because there's 2 things going on. One is it's an amazing concert. You'll never see a concert like this. I don't know that we'll ever do this again. And the artists themselves are another 10 years, a lot of those artists won't be playing anymore. So that in itself is amazing. These acts, these artists, all playing under one roof at one time. But then you add onto that, right, the view that we're given through the film of what happened the night of the show, before the show, how it was put together, the insight into what was going on between the fans and the artists themselves, what was going on backstage. I've never seen anything like this before. And I was there, we were all there, and I have to tell you, it pretty accurately reflects what the show was like and what putting it on was like.
Sir?
Hi, Rudy Blair, 680 News. I want to ask, how difficult was it to go through, because I have to assume it is hours and hours and hours of footage, and you could have 2 clips going, they should go in, you're going, no, we got to choose one or the other. So how difficult was it to do that, to finally have what we get a chance to see?
When we had I don't even know how many hundreds of hours of material we had, but we thought for a moment of having 4 editors work on it. But then we decided to just have one editor, very talented Ben Gold, because we wanted it to have a unified vision, and it really, it's a swimmy kind of movie that goes sometimes on stage, sometimes backstage, sometimes to the side stage and stuff like that. It's very quickly paced, and we sort of we leave you hungry for more at every moment, and hopefully we deliver. But yeah.
I think just to add to that too, in terms of the archive footage that's in the film, we made a decision early on to try. Sandy was a pretty incredible event, and the images are amazing, but we really wanted to bring something different to the table. So we made a decision early on, and we had great archive producers who helped us source material that was actually shot from people on the ground, citizen journalists. Right. And that makes a huge difference in the film. You can feel the storm in a way that you couldn't if you had somebody from the Weather Channel, if you just used like a generic news clip. And so that was a decision that was made early on, and we had to sift through a lot of that footage, but it actually saved a tremendous amount of time because we didn't get hours and hours in from all of the news stations who covered the storm. So that was another way of kind of managing the workflow and going for the feel that we wanted the film to have.
Sir.
Hi, Brad Wheeler, Globe and Mail newspaper, Toronto. This might be a question for you, Jim, something you just said there, and you touched on it, I think, a little bit last night. This kind of concert not happening again 10 years from now. Some of these acts won't be active anymore. Do you get the sense, given the history of Madison Square Garden and the kind of acts that you've had come through that building, that these legacy acts, many of them who were in this concert, are not being replaced? There's nothing filling that void. There's not only won't the Rolling Stones will be here, they won't be here, but there won't be another Rolling Stones. And I'm not just talking about their ability. I'm just talking about
I think
those acts aren't around anymore. They don't.
I don't think there's going to be another Rolling Stones. There is. I don't see one.
I'm just talking about the level. And
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. That's true. Look, there are popular acts today, and they're great. But those particular, that group of musicians, those group of bands, they aren't just part of the culture. They help create the culture. And so, no, I don't think that we're going to see, unless there's another culture created, maybe then, but no, I don't think they will. They say everything in life is circular, so you never know, right?
The event, of course, took place at Madison Square Garden, and then there was this whole setup to sell the TV rights, etc., and so forth. How did it work on the international level? Who took care or took charge of having it on television in China, in France, in Spain, in India?
So we used the AMC Networks, which is one of the companies that my family controls, and Josh Sapan, who runs AMC Networks, was in charge of getting the distribution, and he did as you know, a fabulous job. I think, I don't know whether it's a record or not. I mean, the things like, but we did say to him, and we talked about, look, how does the World Cup get distributed? How does the Super Bowl get distributed? Right, the big major events, particularly sports events, right? They get out all over the world. Why can't we do that with this concert? And Josh got to it, and he was amazing. And he's not here, but I'm sure he would also tell you that he had a lot of help from groups like Fox and NBC and Disney and anybody, Discovery, all those folks who were in the international distribution business, lent a hand. It really was a community effort, and these were all New Yorkers. That they got a phone call. Hey, we're doing this concert. We're doing this concert. We're trying to raise this. Can you tell me how I can get distribution in Australia? And he said, I'll get it for you, or et cetera. That's the kind of spirit that was going on inside of the business community at the time.
There's a local CBS station in Philadelphia that really hits New Jersey really strong. And they wanted to broadcast the concert instead of the network, ratings, that night. We called Les Moonves, the head of CBS, and he said, I'm in, and just do it, and it'd be, the amazing amount of cooperation, Jim is right, from all over the world was pretty intense, especially with 4 weeks.
1 out of every 4 television sets watched the show that night in America.
The highest rated concert.
Music concert ever on TV.
Right. 1 out of every 4 television sets watched it, because basically what we did, right, is we got every network on the television set. So no matter where you turn to, right, if you went right from history, right, to Nickelodeon, it didn't matter, right. It was sort of like Groundhog Day. You just kept coming back to
100 networks, 100 total networks.
But there's a difference. Picking up on something you said, sir. To sell the rights to the Super Bowl worldwide is one thing. To go fundraising worldwide in every country, some of them are not exactly wealthy. That requires another kind of effort. So, to the best of your knowledge, has the Robin Hood organization branches everywhere in the world or similar?
Well, they focus mainly on New York, but for this catastrophe, we opened up our coverage for New Jersey, Connecticut, and the areas hit by that, because and the board is very tight on, it's a poverty fighting group in New York, but because of the catastrophe, they opened it up. But we had 250,000 donations from 90 countries. So to answer your question, we did have people from all around the world step up to support New York, and to quote Adam Sandler, even Red Sox fans.
Can I add one thing also about the television broadcast? It was all over the world, but it was also, something you say, Jim, in the film, which I really appreciated, was it also had this kind of campfire function right there in New York, in the afflicted areas. You talk about monoculture, like the radio and television used to be that thing that all of America would gather around and have a kind of a communal experience. I feel like, one of the things we tried to reflect in the film, we sent a couple crews out to places in New York that had been hit hard by Sandy, who were watching the concert. And so it had that kind of a feel of like people gathering around the television for this collective enterprise, with music obviously being the greatest solve of the human spirit that we know, and so I think, it was a kind of a return to some old roles that rock and roll and television used to have.
Where you come together for it. We told the biggest station of all 150 of our markets, you're carrying it commercial free. Just do it. And they did it.
And, there was a lot of humor, involved too. We had a load of comedians and actors, and, just lines like you've seen the movie, Stephen Colbert addressing the firemen who were the first responders, and he goes, man, those outfits, did you get them from Backdraft, the movie? And, just like all night long, whatever, that kind. Adam Sandler's like song is like, an FU to Sandy, and how New York gets through its stuff. And there's just so much, Jon Stewart, Chris Rock, but nothing beats Paul McCartney walking out, to go in front of an audience of 500 million people globally, and he walks out and he starts singing, "Hey, we're the monkeys, we monkey around," and does half the song, whatever, and they shot it, and it's in the movie.
As he
and
high-five security guards walking
bloody
by.
hilarious, singing the monkeys.
There's not I may be mistaken, but I think we don't have anybody crying in this film. Something about that never rubs me the right way when you see on television that kind of, it's almost like, pornography or something, like going to some victim of a hurricane and, getting them to cry on camera. That seemed kind of chintzy. And it didn't really reflect our experience of course, it was a devastating hurricane. But, New Yorkers meet these challenges with a lot of humor and a lot of, esprit de corps, as I said. And we wanted the film to kind of have a lot of laughs for that reason. Sir.
Hi again, Rudy Blair, 680 News. How difficult, or was it difficult, to organize all the celebrities and music acts? And did you have to turn some people down because you had so many people involved in this?
Well, we tried. We kept it pretty lean and mean, considering all the requests we had. But at the same time, we wanted to make the show as big and diverse as possible to raise as much money. But we had to turn some people down there towards the end. But we wanted to be the biggest stars, because at the end of the day, it was about making money. That was the bottom line, and Jim reminded that of us every day, which is, I'll do whatever it takes. This is about raising money for the victims. And yeah, we got to entertain them like crazy, but we have to have the biggest names, the biggest artists who are going to sell the most tickets and capture the most viewing and listening.
Robin Hood, which Jim supports and John and I are board members, has a different philosophy than a lot of charitable institutions. The board pays the overhead. So in other words, all the costs associated with events, somebody else pays for. So when you make a contribution, it goes right to the people who need it. The other thing is sometimes, I said this last night, Red Cross, there's great organization, but they take a year, the bureaucracy to get the money out. We had the money out 2 weeks later, 30 days later, we had almost all the money out. And 1 week after that, it was totally out. So we were rebuilding houses right away, because it's, the Robin Hood's approach is almost like guerrilla warfare. It's just about getting the job done and not, So the musicians have a long affinity, I think, with Robin Hood too. They know us, and they know that the money goes right away into the hands of people. We did the concert for New York, what was it, October 22nd?
Yeah.
Right after 9/11, so September 12th, we talked about it. October 22nd, we did it. December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, all the money was in the hands of 3,000, victims, and their families. And that's 50 million then, and 15 millions continued to come in. So, we raised over $50 million, for this event. And that's just, not just the beginning, but there will be a waterfall, and hopefully, like 9/11, we'll get, 65 or 75 or something, because people continue. They'll see the concert, they'll see the TV special, and they'll generate income.
Had it worked as fast as it did, had you three not been close friends?
No way. You could have. This was an act of madness. This was an act of insanity.
It wouldn't have happened.
An act of insanity.
Wouldn't have happened.
We just know how to. It's having worked together before. We just know how to finish each other's sentences, get it done. No bull. You take certain things, you give in on other things. It's about the end game, and we don't tolerate anything else. That's why we get along.
I think the experience of 9/11 toughened us. The day of the show, we get an anthrax scare from Washington, saying close this down. Right? Okay, Washington, close this down. Fuck them. But and we did. whatever. And but at the same time, we spent millions of dollars to make sure there wasn't an anthrax in Madison Square Garden, and just all sorts of problems that we came up then. We had the biggest private air force in America, to deliver the acts, because nobody was flying airplanes. So, we had to do that ourselves. So, I think we took something of that, but this was insanity, or total madness to do it in the short time that we did it. So we only did it for like U.S. television and kind of foreign television. So just to make our lives even more difficult, Jim decided to go to global. On top of everything else that we were doing, he wanted to go global, so that meant we all had to go global. So you could see this in India, China, you name it, we had it. It was there.
There are things, when you work together, there are things that happened that night that you don't even know are going to happen because you weren't handling that. Like when all the sanitation workers got up for the last song, I literally was in the TV truck and I said, how did they get there? Somebody booked 100 sanitation workers, which made an incredible impact that night in the show. I'm like, wow, they covered it.
But tell them the story that's funny about, whatever, Michael Dempsey. Come on, tell them.
Okay, well, I was up in the truck, and when you're at the Garden, is up on 8th Avenue, so you can't really run fast to get back into the venue. So Dan Parisi, who's this tough, stage guy who you don't mess with him if you're going to be a minute late on that stage turning around. He does all our shows. He calls up, and the red phone goes off in the truck. I got a problem down here. I got a problem, like the guy in the torpedo room in the movie. He said, I got 100 drunk sanitation workers about to go on stage with Paul McCartney. What do I do? And I just said to him, well, I can't get down there. So you one of two choices. You can either send them up on stage, or I think that might be the choice, or do you want to tell 100 drunk sanitation workers they can't go on stage? He made the right choice.
Well, I guess on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, all of you, for being here on both sides. The film, is it going to be released theatrically anywhere in the world?
Yeah, we hope everywhere in the world. Whether it plays limited edition, in terms of a couple of weeks in a theater, and how we play it, but the movie will definitely be showcased, and it's fun, so.
Well, look for it, go to see it, and donate. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.